To do, which is what I always do, is ask why you're here. I'm always so curious what brought you here and what self leadership means to you. Because I didn't give too much away of what this topic is really about. So I'm just really curious to hear what brought you here. So you can either take yourself off mute or you can type in the chat box. Either of those is absolutely fine. And while you're doing that, I'm going to speak to what we're doing today, the agenda. Thanks, Hannah. You're always cheering me on. Little hype girl. Whoop. So, where's my
I can start if you like.
Yeah, go, Jackie.
Yeah. I'll just go. It's going to get clangy out here. I think for me personally, it's something I'm definitely stepping into, and I need all the cheerleaders I can get, because it's big. I've had 48 years of this conditioning, and a generational beyond that, but also just witnessing it I've got two daughters, so just witnessing the absolute life-keeping need for this to be brought to the world and to be normalized. What I say, back of buses, in schools, talked about at homes, shared. So and I can't be the example if I don't show up and up level myself. So that was my, and just it's potent for me at the moment. It's coming up in my dreams, so I know when things are coming up in my dreams that I need to up level there myself too. So
yay, beautiful. Yeah, and this work should feel like an edge for people. I don't expect you to arrive today feeling comfortable in it. I'm not comfortable in it. It's an edge for me. And that's exactly how it should feel when we're growing and when we're adapting and when we're shedding older versions of ourselves and birthing the new. It should feel edgy. Yay. Roxy, Jody, Hannah, do any of you want to share why you're here in the chat? Otherwise, take yourself off mute. Go, Hannah.
So I saw your offering and it just really spoke to me, because I've been really trying to work through people pleasing and not searching for external validation and finding that within myself, becoming my own cheerleader, my own best friend, my own parent, because I'm 23, like I'm still quite young, so it's like nice to be able to step into all of these new learnings and offerings while I kind of have like less conditioning to undo. And like, why not invest in myself and become the biggest, most authentic, genuine version of myself now to step forward into the rest of my life with that attitude. And yeah, it just really spoke to like what I'm really wanting to embody going forward. And like we did the future visioning, and I was like authentic, self-led, self-validated, self-cheerleading, like that's what I want. So
beautiful. Yeah. And this isn't saying that we don't want other people to support us. We don't want other people to, validate us and cheerlead us and have these people around us, because we don't want to put ourselves in a silo, right? Of like, I don't need anyone. That's not what this is about. It's that, and like standing on our own 2 feet and really leading ourselves. Yeah, beautiful, Hannah. You're such a little pocket rocket. Roxy, thanks for your share. Love that. Jody, anything you want to speak into? Absolutely optional.
I'll be brave and take my mic off. I guess at the moment I'm trying to step into who I am, and more into who I am. And just coming up against those blocks, I guess, of looking to other people, for validation, and kind of dumbing yourself down because you think you need to fit in, rather than standing out and being who you want to be. So that's me.
Beautiful. Can I give you one piece of feedback already?
Mm-hmm.
This is for everyone, but Jodie's just brought it to the forefront. Often when we are talking about ourselves, we refer to the you. You dim yourself down, you do this, you do that. And when we do that, we're not owning it. We're not taking ownership of it. And that's the first part of self-leadership, is like, this is mine. I'm holding this. I may not like it. I may not love it. I may not want to continue on with this pattern or this behavior, but it's mine. It's what I've been doing. So we get to just change the context through which we speak into these things as well. Yeah. Beautiful. All right, let's kick off. I'm going to keep an eye on the door in case anybody else knocks loudly to get in. And as I shared, this content, this training will be converted into a course. I'll cut out all of the waffle at the beginning, so I'll cut out everyone's shares, so don't worry, they're not going to go public. But throughout the training, I will probably at a midway point, I will give an opportunity for Q&A, for discussion. I'll cut that out as well. So I don't want you to feel as if a little bit nervous that other people are going to be watching your stuff. They won't. And yeah, so what I think we might do just as we sort of arrive and ground in is just a really quick breathing exercise to get us into our bodies, to get us in a receptive state. Put your toast down, Hannah. And yeah, that's it. So if it feels good for you, just closing down your eyes, we'll just be here for a few minutes, and I just want you to start connecting to your breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just notice what's present in your body, whether there are some nerves, whether there is perhaps exhaustion, tiredness. Perhaps you have a sense of like, oh shit, I didn't put the laundry on. Oh my gosh, I didn't do this thing. Can you just observe it and just notice it and give yourself permission to put it to the side for now and just be fully present, just breathing into that space that perhaps feels a little jumpy, shaky, uncertain, not here. Inhaling through the nose and just anchoring down into your sit bones, into the seat beneath you, really arriving in your body. Perhaps letting out a sigh and just letting go of any tension, any contraction, any frustration, any I'm about to get my period and I'm a little bit wobbly, any emotion, just breathing it out. And just for a moment, I want you to connect into the most innermost part of you, your highest self, the part of you that is self-led, that takes radical self-ownership, that is boundaried, who honors the agreements that she makes with herself and others, who stands on her own 2 feet, but also chooses high caliber people to walk with, to surround her. How does she feel? What is alive in your body right now as you feel into her? What is different about her that is perhaps not present for you today? Or perhaps it is present for you today, and just meet that. Say, hi, this feels nice. But I just want to make sure you really anchor this into your body, anchor into this feeling. Perhaps you're holding your shoulders back a little bit higher. Perhaps you're sitting a little bit taller. Perhaps you're breathing a little bit more unencumbered. Perhaps there's more spaciousness in your body. You might feel calmer, like an exhale. And once you feel like you've got her, once you feel like you know what she's doing, how she's being, I want you to go bigger, because you probably limited yourself. So go bigger. What are you holding back from tapping into? What is that thing that you're not doing because you feel as if you don't know enough yet? What is that thing that you're not leaning into because it feels scary, it feels uncertain, it feels like you don't know the steps to get there? And whose voice is in your ear telling you that you cannot do it, that you shouldn't do it, that you need to depend on them or someone else, that it's scary, that it's too much, that you're too much. And just notice that voice and just keep breathing into it, perhaps deepening your breath if it feels a little heavy. Having compassion for yourself for feeling stuck in the past, for feeling weighed down under the weight of other people's expectations. And just bringing a hand up to your heart, a hand to your belly, anchoring this in, connecting to this part of you, feeling her in your body, saying, I'll see you soon, sooner than you may think. And then whenever you're ready, just fluttering your eyes open, coming back. And that's the workshop done. Bye, guys. Just kidding. Hi, Maddie. Now, because you joined late, you need to take yourself off mute and tell us why you're here.
Wow, I'm so lucky. I just put Leo down. I just gave him his bottle and he just threw it out, rolled over and went to sleep.
Beautiful.
Just sitting here with the baby monitor hoping he's actually asleep, but I'm pretty sure it looks positive. And I'm here because it just really, it really grabbed me after meeting with you the other night, and it just felt right and where I am in my journey. And I thought, you know, if I can make time to do this, I'm going to have more confidence in myself to make time for other things for myself. Damn it, he's awake. But he's not saying anything, so that's okay. So yeah, I'm glad I'm here and making the most of my time.
Beautiful. Yay. All right. So we're going to kick off now that we're grounded and we are here. So I want to kick off with talking about what self-leadership is. Actually, I'm just going to have to turn my washing machine off, otherwise it's going to distract me. It's just beeping. So I just want you to connect with someone else on the screen and just connect with someone for just a moment.
Hi, everyone.
I'm back. It's got this jingle and it jingles about 10 times to tell me that it's done. I'm like, I know it's done. Okay. So what to expect today? Let's go there first. So, hello, Jackie, there you are. So we've done our breath work. We have a little under 2 hours together, and I'm sure that that's going to fly by. I want this to be interactive. Maddie, I told the other ladies that I'll be cutting out the chats that we have. I'll be cutting out the discussion when I convert it to an e-course. So feel free to let loose and share whatever you feel safe to share in this container. Take notes, interact in the chat, ask questions, perhaps save your questions for the midway point, which will be in about 45 minutes, and the end. But I will absolutely get to all of your questions. Maddie, I saw yours that came through on email today, so I'll absolutely get to those. And then what else are we going to do? Yeah, if we have time at the end, we might do another sort of breathwork and future visioning connection that we just did then to really anchor this in. And I encourage you to do this practice as well, like what we just did of the breathing, the connecting to that future version, anchoring that in every day. That is self-leadership. Because when we don't have these practices that really anchor us into where we're going, we're using the past to dictate what we do today. Oh, yesterday was a nightmare, so I'll just continue and carry that energy on through today, rather than how do I want this to go? How do I want to show up? What lesson am I taking from this experience that I just went through that felt heavy? So that's it. That's what we're doing. So let's talk about what self-leadership is. It is a state of being. So it's not something that we are born with. It's not the people who are loud and confident and who love public speaking and who are the born leaders. Every single person is a leader. We all lead in our own way, whether that is in motherhood, whether that is in our relationships, whether that is at our job as an employee, or perhaps we run a business or a volunteer, whatever it is, we are all leading something. And most of all, we are leading ourselves. And as women, typically in the past, a lot of that leadership has been taken away from us, right? With the patriarchy and just all of the conditioning that has been placed upon women, that we are to be a certain way, that we are to do certain things, and that we are to follow a certain kind of script for our life. So self-leadership, I feel like, there's never been a better time in our lives to really step in and own this part of ourselves and learn how to tap into the state of being. So it is a state of being. It is a choice that we are making and a series of actions that we put behind that choice. And I'll get into that a little bit further as we move on in terms of what it means to really embody the archetype of that leader. Self-leadership is self-ownership. So one of the hardest things that we can do is take radical responsibility and radical accountability for everything in our life, for everything that has happened to us, for the choices that we have made that perhaps weren't supportive of our path, for the situations that we have gotten into that have felt heavy, that have ended up breaking our heart, for the ways that we've treated other people, for getting into a job that was perhaps really toxic, or a relationship that was really toxic. It's very easy to point the finger at other people and say, this person did this to me, or this person, ruined my life. I'm never going to date again, or I'm never going to trust women again, or I'm never going to feel safe in my body. And that's entirely disempowering. So yes, every single one of us has had things that have happened to us that have knocked us off center, that have made us feel unworthy, that have made us feel broken, that have broken our heart into a million pieces. And we get to take radical ownership for the role that we played in that as well, right? Because in every relationship that we're in, and I don't just mean a romantic relationship, but every sort of situation that we find ourselves in, whether that relationship is to a job or to another person, we are and have always been 100% responsible for our 50% of that relationship. And so radical ownership and self-leadership is taking responsibility for our part in how these things might have played out. Everything that we are really attracting into our lives is bringing us to a state of awareness to make better choices. So the challenges that are happening to us, if we're open to it, can give us a level of awareness that we didn't have before that challenge came into our life. And that's such a gift, to be able to look back at the setbacks and extract the wisdom and move forward from that place. So it's taking ownership for it all. Taking ownership for it all. Now this isn't, there's nuances here. This isn't condoning abuse or neglect or bad behavior or trauma or, a million of the horrific things that happen to people. But it's taking ownership for the residue that's been left behind in your body when these things happen. It's not about waiting for other people to tell you where you're going and what you're doing and what you should do and how you can feel safer and how you can be more successful and how you can be more loved, because that's ultimately what we're chasing, right? Is to be more loved, to be more accepted, to belong. Those are our sort of three key things. And so on a subconscious level, every choice that we're making is to do that, to be more loved, belonging, and accepted. So self-leadership is recognizing what is for our highest good and what isn't. And yes, we get to look to mentors for guidance and to support us on our path and to help us grow. But we're not looking to mentors or other people to fix us. So that's the distinction with self-leadership. It's not about looking for someone to put back your broken pieces into wholeness. But it's about finding people who can have your back, who are in your corner, and who can really pull you forward into a bigger state of self-leadership. And I think I posted about this morning on Instagram, the most important thing when we're looking to leaders around us is our intention behind it. So not looking to that leader or mentor to fix you, to heal you, to put your pieces back together, not coming from that intention of lack, I'm broken, I don't have enough yet, I'm not there yet. But it's how can I be more? How can I be greater? How can I be better? How can I take what's already great and make it even greater? because so many people think that we can only ask for support when we are broken, when we are at the bottom of the cliff, when we are, utterly depleted. And that's when so many women come to me, when they're at that point of, now I'm broken. And so it's really important then that on this journey of self-leadership, we are continuing to tap into and build our self-awareness, checking in and going, how am I? How am I feeling? What's present for me right now? What's showing up in my world? Because if certain patterns are showing up in your world, your patterns show you where you're wounded. So if we're attracting a similar type of person over and over and over who is disrespecting our boundaries, that's an us thing. That is the universe trying to teach us there's something to clean up here. There's something that needs a little micro adjustment. And self-leadership is about trusting that you can be the type of person who keeps showing up for herself no matter what. It doesn't mean that we don't have days where we want to throw in the towel and we want to blame other people and we make choices that are perhaps not self-honoring. But we continue coming back to that baseline level of, I've got myself, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, this is hard, I want to give up, I want to quit, but I'm not gonna. That's what it's about. So why is it important? Why is it important that we adopt or practice or learn or lean into self-leadership? Does anyone want to share, either in the comments or take yourself off mute, why this is important? You've all shared at the beginning why it's important for you.
I'm happy to share. I've got a view to that. As you know, Anna, like I am a champion of carers and our frontline workers and our future frontline workers. And I just believe the way that we can support them in our crumbling health system is as individuals, as humans, taking some self-leadership and inner authority and everything else you mentioned, so that we aren't relying on the health system to validate our well-beings. I also see that our frontline workers don't have it either. And so they present with, like you said, burnout, depleted. And I don't know about you, but if I have to use healthcare, I want someone full to overflowing, touching my body. So that's my view on it. That's my top view. And then, of course, being a parent and a woman, and I have other views too.
Yeah. We are so powerful. As women, we are so powerful. We have so many gifts. And yes, if we look to the movies and we look to the past, it was only men that were in leadership positions, right? It's men that are the leaders. Yet, I feel like there has been such a huge shift over the last few years of the languaging around it and the roles that women are taking and the leadership qualities that women are really stepping into. And one thing that I've seen a lot more of is vulnerability in leadership. Because leadership isn't just the person who's standing up the front, who's got everything right, who's got the perfect answers, whose life is just swimming along and who, is dressed to the nines. It's like we look to Brene Brown of what leadership really gets to look like. It's the vulnerability. It's owning our shame. It's owning where we're not strong in our leadership. And it's knowing that we don't have to juggle every single ball at every time. Like sometimes this area of our life might be high, our career might be really humming, and our romantic relationship might be really just like, oh, that needs a bit of work. And so can we have the self-leadership? Can we have the self-awareness to notice that? And then, oh, I just need to put my career down for a second, step away from that for a second, foster my relationship more, or my health, or my children, or whatever it is. We don't need to have every single plate spinning at a speed of knots in order to be owning that role. Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Jackie. Anyone else want to share how it's directly impacting your life or why it's important? You can share in the chat if that feels easier. And it might come up as we continue on, so we'll just leave that there. So there are so many ways and avenues that we can disempower ourselves. And I've talked a little bit about what those are earlier, but committing to a practice of self-leadership is critical if you want to live a rich and full life and achieve things. There's so many systems in the world, and Jackie talked about healthcare being one of them. There's so many systems in the world that are disempowering, that take our power away, that say you can't do that, or you won't do that as good as a man, or you won't do that as good as the next person, or you will only be successful at that if you do this. Coaching, the coaching industry, funnily enough, is one of those. You know, you've got to follow this strategy in order to be successful. You've got to, you know, present yourself like this on social media in order to be taken seriously. And it's like, no, I'm not playing by those rules anymore. And a critical part of this is really choosing your own rules and realizing that no person in the world knows the right way to do things. They know the right way to do them for them based on their own experience, but they're not you. And so one of the most fundamental skills and tools that we can have as humans is just our own discernment. And really feeling into, it's called interoception, but having the interoception, which is being able to feel your body from the inside out and feeling like, yeah, actually, this doesn't feel good for me. This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like a conversation that feels empowering. This doesn't feel like a situation where I can really thrive. That feeling is so important because for so long we have been conditioned to make our assessments and our decisions and our judgments up here. And what's up here? Our conditioning, what we've been told to think, what we've been told to believe. And so we're so tapped out of our hearts, our bodies, our center, our truth, our intuition, because it's convenient for us to not be in that much power, in that much self-leadership. Because what would happen if every single woman in the world really tapped into her own self-leadership? Look at your mother, look at your sisters, look at your best friends, look at your daughters. Imagine what would happen if they took their power back. It would be a pretty scary place for a lot of people. And so there's a lot of systems and structures and things in place in order to not allow that to flourish. But we're starting to notice, right? We're noticing and we're rising above it. And we're saying, oh, I see what's going on here. Yeah, this doesn't feel good. This isn't my truth. So discernment and self-leadership is so important. Discernment with who you're choosing to invest in, who you're choosing to be mentored by, to learn from, what you're choosing to, you know, consume, the type of content that you're choosing to consume. Some of these self-help books are just, yeah, can almost be damaging. And that only comes through self-awareness. So the more that we expand our self-awareness and we become aware, and I think I gave this analogy, maybe it was to you yesterday, Maddie, of when you can notice yourself noticing yourself. That's a gift. That is self-awareness. Oh, I'm noticing that I'm about to be really cruel to myself about that decision that I just made. When we can notice the noticing, we have so much power. We take our power back and go, no, actually, I don't want to be the type of person that acts in that way. I'm choosing this instead. And yes, so many of our behaviors and so many of our actions are automatic. They're muscle memory because we've practiced them enough times. But it's never too late to unlearn what we've been doing, to unlearn particular patterns, to unlearn not having boundaries, to unlearn self-betrayal. It's never too late. We just need to reach that state of awareness where we are aware that we're doing it and we're aware that there's an alternative. That's powerful. It is a practice. It's not something that you don't, it's not about signing up with a coach or signing up with a teacher or enrolling in this program and just learning self-leadership in that program. It's a practice. And it's a lifelong practice. It's a curriculum. You're not going to get it perfect. As I said at the beginning, there will still be days in your journey as you step into self-leadership and you'll think that you've got it all great and everything is humming along and you're finally at this place that you always wanted to be. and then something will happen to trigger you, or someone will cut you off in traffic, or you'll be going for the promotion and all of these doubts will come up, and you'll feel like you've reverted back to this version of you of like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't trust, and I don't belong, and we need that. We need those wobbles. We need those moments to course correct, to keep us back on path. Because if we didn't, we'd be complacent. And we just hang up our boots and think, I'm done. I've done my work. I'm self-led. No more work to do. And that's not how it goes. Because every level is a new devil. So as we continue to grow, as we continue to expand, as we continue to lean into our edges of whatever it is that we're going after, there's going to be a new devil that comes in to just test you. Just test, like, how badly you want this thing, or how willing you are to be uncomfortable in your growth, how committed you are to the path. And you reach a point where that gets exciting. It's like, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what tries to knock me off path. I'm ready. Come at me. And that's a sweet spot. When you start to get excited about the triggers, when you start to get excited about your patterns showing up to the surface, because remember, you're noticing the noticing. And when you're in that role of being a leader, of noticing you're noticing, you've got the power, you know what to do, you know what to choose. And you get to call upon all of these skills and tools and experience that you've been building. My neighbor, she's so cute. The ripple effect of being in spaces with women who are leading themselves is monumental. I get goosebumps just talking about that. Because I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have, these strong, powerful women who, believed that they could do anything, and, money is easy to come by. And no, I grew up around such disempowering stories around money, around my body, around relationships, around men, around all of it, and I'm still around it. I'm still around it. And I can't change that. I can't change them. I can't, sit here and cross my fingers and hope that they will grow and evolve, and, because that's me and my spiritual ego. My happiness, my okayness is not dependent on how fast someone else grows, or when they decide to change their narrative, or when they decide to behave better, or when they decide to learn what boundaries are. My happiness cannot be dependent on that. I'm in my bubble. I'm in my own lane doing me. The people outside of me can be doing what they're doing, and I'm solid. I know my truth. I know how to protect myself. I know how to practice discernment. I know I wobble a lot. And I get frustrated. And sometimes I revert back into, I just wish that this person would just do this thing instead, and then I'll be okay. No, my okayness is not dependent on that. I choose my okayness. So you cannot help but rise to the occasion when you are in the proximity of women who are in that energy. 3 weeks ago, I invested in a group coaching program with a coach who I initially saw on Instagram, and she came up on my explore feed, and I was just like, no, absolutely not my person. Her branding, her vibe, everything, no. I'm in love with her. I am in love with her. I enrolled in her program. My life has changed over the last 3 weeks. My entire perspective of my business, of myself, of like everything has changed over just 3 weeks of being in this woman's proximity who initially triggered me. Because the people who trigger us are embodying something we wish we had. I wish I could be as confident as her. I wish I was having the financial success that she had. And so I could have sat back and just gone, no, she's too far away from me. She's too far advanced. Her brand is so different from mine. No. But I leaned in because something kept drawing me back to her and going, there's something for me to learn here. And yeah, I just have goosebumps talking about it, because it's those decisions where we just go, this doesn't make sense in my head. She's not my vibe in my head, but there's something in my body that's being activated when I'm looking at her content and when I'm seeing who she shows up as. And so the way that I'm showing up today, teaching this class, is infused with her energy, because she's activated something in me which hasn't been there before. It's easy for me to think that it's all about me and like, oh, I'm feeling little bit this today. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. It's not about me. It's about who needs me today. Who needs to hear what I have to share today? And so it's easy for us on our journeys to get caught up in our stuff, to get caught up in our feelings. How is this affecting me? How am I feeling? What if we stepped outside of that? What if it was more about who can I show up for today? Whose life can I impact just through really embodying the highest version of myself and holding myself to a higher standard? What ripple effect could I create from that? What ripple effect could I create for myself in that? And this is where the embodiment piece comes in, of embodying the archetype of someone whose energy or someone whose vibe or someone whose style of self-leadership or way of being or way of living or way of having more fun. Embodying that, playing that character, it changes things in our cells. It starts to reorganize things within our system. And so if you need to go into an important meeting and you're feeling wobbly, you feel like you don't belong in the room because you don't know enough yet, or who are you to be there? Can you embody the archetype of someone who walks in that room with her shoulders back and her head held high, and she knows exactly what she's getting across, and everyone wants to lap up what it is that she's sharing? That's what embodying, like being the embodiment of something, so that you can train your cells to feel safe in that place, to feel safe in that state of being. Eventually you become her. Like we did at the start of this call, that sort of future visioning exercise where you're feeling into that version of you. The more that you can embody her today rather than waiting to be her in order to feel her, and then you will be her. That's just a really important hack. And your environment is everything. And for many of us, we can't necessarily choose our environment. We may have co-workers who are really triggering or who are really low vibration, or we may have a flatmate who perhaps doesn't bring out the best in us, or we may have grown up with a mother who still, talks down to us and invalidates our emotions. And so that environment has an impact on us. And so boundaries are really important when we're in these types of environments that are not supportive of where we're going. And yeah, environment, Jim Rohn says you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. That doesn't include children and partners, but see who you become when you start to up-level the types of people, the types of rooms that you're in, the types of people that you're listening to, that you're learning from, that you're being mentored by, and see what starts to shift. And self-leadership just feels good. It just feels good when you start to honor the agreements that you make for yourself. Like, oh my God, I really didn't want to go to the gym today and I went and I feel so good. I may have only been there for 30 minutes, but it doesn't matter, I went. Sometimes we need to reduce our expectations of ourselves because we make them too big so that we fail, so that we can kick ourselves and say, see, I knew you wouldn't do that. See, I know you're the type of person who just reneges on her agreements. And so can we just dial the expectations on ourselves back a little bit so that we can achieve them, so that we can give ourselves an opportunity to really excel? It feels good. It feels good to be self-led. It feels good to be practicing our discernment. It feels good to be making decisions for the good of you. And it feels good to tap into the impact that that's having on the people around you, on your romantic relationships, with your kids. When we step out of that role of being the victim of, oh God, like nothing is going my way. And I grew up in a household where complaining was the love language. The love language was just complaints. What can we complain about today? And there was a lot of victimhood. There was a lot of martyrdom, and it was entirely disempowering. And so growing up, I learned to receive love from my mother by doing things, acts of service, doing things for her, cleaning her house, fixing things, and I didn't receive love just for who I was. It was what I did. And so then you start a business and you're trying to build your business and you're trying to like grow things and have more money so that you can show your mum, like, see mum, see what I'm doing? Can you love me now? Rather than, oh, I'm building a business because of the type of impact that I want to have and the type of life that I want to lead, and because it feels really fun. So self-awareness and self-leadership will allow us to look at the ways in which we're actually just operating under patterns of past conditioning of, oh, I've been chasing this because I'm trying to fulfill this void that was left in me from childhood, or this place within me that still doesn't feel fully worthy of sitting at this table, so I'm overcompensating or I'm overgiving in order to get something in return or to fix something. So what gets in the way? What gets in the way of our self-leadership? I'd love to throw it over to you ladies again and see what ideas we have. What stops us from really being in our self-leadership?
For me, I probably feel like the box that people have created of me that they expect me to fit into based on like who I was, or like not understanding that, you know, you haven't seen me for a year and maybe I'm a different person now, maybe I'm bigger, maybe I'm bolder, maybe I'm more, and they just expect for you to fit back into their version of who you were.
Yeah. And is that, do you have evidence of that, or is that a story?
Yeah, like my parents. You know, like I'm a big girl now, like I live my own life and kind of just expected sometimes to just fit back into theirs back home, and family as well that kind of expect you to complain and talk about the same topics and have the same opinions and the same ideas. Like, yeah, especially around politics is always a fun one.
Groupthink is what that's called. Yeah. You're part of this family, so you think the way that we do. This is how we think. This is how we act. This is what we do. Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge one. What else? What gets in the way?
For me, there's probably lots of things, but the first thing that comes to mind is in my business, it really has ebbs and flows. And like ever since it got cold, everything stopped selling. I sell clothing and I haven't made any winter product. And so I'm in this sort of like nothing's happening, but I kind of have to figure out how I can keep moving it forward and stay motivated when there aren't sales sort of trickling through. And I've noticed that when the business isn't like thriving or doing as well as it was, it definitely affects sort of multiple aspects of my life. And it really like dampens the mood kind of. So yeah, I'm still, and that's been sort of part of my career, I suppose, for quite a while, where it's very up and down. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to maintain it moving along and not feeling like roadblocked by it.
Yeah. And you're making moves, you're doing new things. So that's exciting. And the most important thing with this, when it comes, for those of it, who has a business? Jackie does, Maddie does. Jody? No? Okay. What was I going to say? Everything is information. And so everything that is happening, the highs and the lows, is information. But when it's our business, it's so easy to take it personally. Must have been something I did. I'm just not smart enough. And we tell ourselves so many disempowering stories about why that is, or we just sink into a place to prove ourselves of like, see, it didn't work. You should have just, gone with the safe job, which is what your parents wanted you to do. So sometimes we're trying to prove our disempowering stories right. And so it's really important that we adopt a relationship of everything is information, everything is data. What can I do with this data? And there's no problems, only puzzles. So how can I solve this puzzle? Everything is, selling in summer and it's not in winter. How could I solve this puzzle? This actually happened last year. Why have I not solved it yet? Yeah, I probably should have done that. Maybe I'm a little bit disconnected from this business. Maybe there's an opportunity opening up for me to adapt into something else. Maybe I'm not taking action, maybe I'm not moving because I actually want to step away from this business, but I'm scared to do that.
I've always found it so much easier to have this motivation and problem solving capabilities when working for somebody else, when you know you've got this regular paycheck and you kind of, it's like sort of comfortable, I suppose, and that I'm always more likely to step outside the box and try new things within those other businesses. But then when it comes to doing it for myself, it's like there's this big
Yeah.
and it's so hard, and I'm so aware of it, but I just can't quite figure out how to get around it.
Yeah. It sounds like there's a security piece in there as well, of like, you need to feel secure in order to be in that role of like figuring out puzzles and problems and in that leadership role. And security is for a lot of people is money. But having a business where money is the thing that's driving you is always going to end up feeling too heavy, feeling like a struggle, and almost feeling codependent. Like, I can only be happy when the business is thriving. What if you were always happy? And what if you were doing things in your life that made you so happy so that you infused that energy into your business and that was your state of being? And so the way that you showed up in your business was aligned with your state of being, which is, I'm someone who can solve any problem. I can't wait to tackle this problem head on. I do this for the love of it. The money comes as a natural byproduct of that. How can I bring this energy to everything I do?
Proper, like, that feels like that would be true alignment.
Yeah. And 5 years into my coaching business, this is really something I'm only starting to grasp now, is it doesn't have to be about the money. Like, obviously it's about the money, because obviously we all have bills and we need to pay things. But what if that was secondary and it was actually about just the energy that I'm showing up in to my business? Because I love it. I love what I do. But I don't love the days where I'm like, shit, I need to make a sale. Oh God, where's the next sale coming from? What am I going to do for money? I need to put this thing out so that I can earn money. That just doesn't work for me. But the days where I'm like, I'm just so excited to see if this new thing works out and like whether people like it, and it's shifting our state behind it. Trusting that the rest will be taken care of.
Yeah.
We're incredibly resourceful, we're incredibly adaptable, but often we don't give ourselves the opportunity to really step into that. Yeah, and everything is information. So what is this telling me? Where is this directing me? How am I making this harder than it perhaps needs to be at the moment? Yeah, but the money thing is huge. It's so inherently tied to our self-worth. And so if we want to play a bigger money game, we've got to clean up the stuff that's stopping us from feeling safe bringing in that money. Any other ideas of what gets in the way? The chat box is there if you need it as well. So our disempowering stories is one of them, and this is probably one of the biggest ones, is the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are, about what we're capable of, about what type of person achieves that type of thing. Sometimes, and I got called out on this week by my coach, sometimes it's easier to pretend to not know the answer than to take radical action that might change your entire world. I was just saying, I don't know how to solve this problem. Like, I don't know. Tell me the answer. I was putting the power in her hands. And she was saying, it's really easy for you to tell the story of you don't know, but you do know. You just don't want to choose that because that would mean X, Y, and Z. And that's scary. I was like, yeah, damn. I don't want to do this thing that you're telling me to do. Firstly, because I don't like being told what to do. And secondly, because I can't see that working yet. I don't fully trust it. So sometimes it's easier to pretend to not know. I don't know, and play the damsel in distress than to step into that role, step into that kind of masculine discernment and focus and discipline, and I'll figure this out. I trust myself to come to the right decision. Because success is scary for a lot of people. actually succeeding and achieving your dreams and like doing everything that you set out to do, for a lot of people, that's as scary as a fear of failure. Because what if I'm really successful and then my friends don't relate to me anymore? Or my parents tell me that I'm too much and I'm greedy and I'm selfish and I should be doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah, tall poppy syndrome. What if I become successful at this thing and then it equals more stress? Because I saw that my dad had a lot of money, but he was really stressed. What if I achieve this success and I do this thing and then I just can't maintain it, and then I will feel ashamed because I succeed and then I fail? And so our brain will always favor the familiar, where we are right now, than it will to say, no, go out and do more, go bigger. So that's why I told you at the start of this, when you were doing the visioning, go bigger, because we don't choose that for ourselves. We're like, no, this is enough. Yeah, I feel this is good. I feel comfortable here. No, go bigger. Your brain will always favor the familiar, whether that's the job that you're in that you hate, but it's familiar and it's easier to stay in that than leaping into something unknown. Because unknown territory to your ego is terrifying. But we can't see that. What happens when we get there? We don't know what that's like, but we know what this is like, this familiar discomfort that we're in right now of being in an unhealthy relationship, or, whatever, being in the job that isn't serving our needs. Victimhood, on the other hand, so success can feel really scary. Success can feel like, oh, that's too much. And particularly with tall poppy syndrome as well. And sometimes we have negative associations with what success is, because we might have seen someone who was really successful, but was really mean, or was really vacuous, or perhaps used their money for bad things. And perhaps we've created an association between success equals that person's going to get torn down. Victimhood, on the other hand, can feel really comforting, particularly if you grew up in a household where your mother was a victim. She played the victim, and that was her only way of being, and so it's familiar, and so we will copy that pattern. Because no matter what, we always want to follow in our parents' footsteps, no matter if their behavior was effective or ineffective. It's just what we learned. And so, of course, we follow our parents. And it can elicit. So whenever someone tells me that they're stuck in a pattern of something, oh, I keep sabotaging this thing, or I keep da-da-da-da-da, I say, how's it serving you? And they say it's not. And I say, well, it is, because you're choosing it. So it's serving you. It just, you might not be thinking that it's a good thing, but it's serving you. And so often our self-sabotage, or our procrastination, or our playing a really small game, or our whatever, is serving us in that it's keeping us small. We can't fail at something if we don't even try, right? We can't fail at the business that we really want to start if we just say, nah, it's too hard. No, I'm fine in this job that I'm in. And victimhood and being in our like, oh, nothing ever works out for me, nothing goes my way, it can elicit love and validation from our parents, for example. Oh, you poor thing, I'm so sorry that you're going through another breakup, or I'm so sorry that X, Y, and Z, or perhaps you get more attention from your boyfriend, or your girlfriends really pick you up and take you out for the night drinking when you're going through a rough patch. And so if we don't have the emotional intelligence to ask for support when we're going through a hard time, and we elicit it through victimhood. And another story tied to my mum. So growing up, I felt like I only got attention when I was sick or when I was upset. And so I grow into an adult and create more situations where I'm sick or I'm upset, so that I can go to my mum and get that love that she didn't give freely. So notice your patterns and try and tie them back to where you felt disempowered, or where you felt like you couldn't get what you truly were longing for, and you're trying to go around another way to get that thing. Notice where you're playing the victim because it serves a purpose. Notice where you're sabotaging or procrastinating or trying to be a perfectionist. Ask yourself, how's this serving me? You know that it's not, but ask again. No, but how is this serving me? Oh, it means I don't have to take action. It means that my parents aren't going to tell me that I'm a show off because I have all of this abundance and money now. For some people, that's terrifying. Tall poppy syndrome is a real thing. And there's also, I think I just spoke to this, but there's fears around being too much. So if our parents struggled, if our parents weren't sort of natural leaders, we can develop a subconscious loyalty to that. So mum struggled, so I've got to struggle. And I've noticed this within myself and my business as well. My mum started her own business at 40. She's still running it at 70. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle. Everything is a struggle. Hope mum doesn't buy this course. I'm sure she won't. Everything is a struggle and stressful. And she's got to work like 60 hours a week in order to run this business. And so starting my business in the early years, up until probably the last year, I thought everything had to be a struggle and money had to be stressful. And I had to work and work and work and work and work. Because of that subconscious loyalty, I wanted to do what my mum was doing because she was my leader. She was my guide. I grew up without a father present. So notice where you may have created this subconscious loyalty, perhaps to a sister or to a mother or a father or whoever it is. So following in their footsteps. What else gets in the way? Our self-sabotaging tendencies, so perfectionism, procrastination, self-doubt. That stops us from really stepping into that role. Oh, I don't believe I can do that thing, so I'm not even going to try. Or I'm not going to try until I've got this thing perfect. I can't start my coaching business. I don't know enough yet. Or I'm too young. I don't know enough. Also, our desire for control. We want to control the outcome of things. And so we don't give ourselves the opportunity to really just lean into trust and allowing things to unfold more magically than we possibly could have imagined because we're so fixated on it's got to go this way and I've got to micromanage every step of it along the way, rather than like, what could be possible if I just kind of sat back a little bit. And this is why taking breaks if you have a business, taking breaks in that is so important. Studying, Hannah, taking breaks in that, even at your job, like just taking breaks and stepping back to just kind of notice. Google gives their employees like 20% of their week for just like creativity in their own personal projects because it makes them so much more focused and makes them so much like smarter and come up with such more creative ideas in their working week because they've got that time to just kind of sit back and just be. So we don't need to be in control. And the word association of like leadership, for me, it's like control. Leadership, control. And perhaps you have an association like that as well, or leadership equals mean, or leadership equals loud, leadership equals extroverted. So think about the associations that you have, because often that can be something that will stop us from stepping into that role. Oh, I have a negative association. Notice what happens when you release the pressure. Notice what happens when you take a shower and you stop trying to control and problem solve and think about the answer. The answer just comes to you because you've released that grip on control. The feminine doesn't like to be constrained. The feminine needs like flow and creativity and just that flowiness in order to really thrive. And so feminine leadership is really like creating the systems and creating the structure in your life and calling upon that focus and calling upon that discernment and discipline, but then allowing the kind of feminine creativity to just flow within that container. What else gets in the way? Attaching to the outcome. So I talked a little bit about this just before, but having an idea of like what something needs to look like or what success looks like. Sometimes that can limit us because if this is the view that we have of the end goal, we're not actually looking over here and going, oh, but maybe this could be something I could pursue. Maybe this is what this could look like. And when we attach to the outcome of something, we almost always set ourselves up for disappointment, because there's so much that's outside of our control. There's so much that we just simply don't have control over. So if we had high intention, I have the highest intention for this thing going the way that I want it to go, but I'm completely unattached to whether it does, we free ourselves from the disappointment and the suffering that inevitably comes with, this needs to look like this, otherwise I'm not happy. This needs to look like this, otherwise I've failed. What if you could have high intentions? This is going to turn out better than I could have possibly imagined. I don't need to know how, because my why is big enough. My trust in myself is big enough. That's all I need. And finally, what else gets in the way? Disconnection from ourselves and what we actually want. So it's very hard to want to lead yourself, to want to make big moves in the world, to want to really just take ownership for your life and everything in it, when you don't feel a sense of connection to yourself. You don't feel connected to your values. You don't really know. And it's a fine line, because I don't necessarily feel as if you need to know the end goal. You need to know what the goals are that you want to achieve. I'm not a big fan of goals myself, but I have intentions. I know how I want it to feel. I know what I want my lifestyle to be like. I know what I want to be doing with my time. I just don't know how it looks, where it's happening, when it's happening, and how to get there. But I know who I need to become in the process. And that's what's really important with our goals, with achieving anything, is drop the attachment to the goal, fixate on who you need to become in order to have that thing. How does she show up for herself? What choices is she making? How does she speak to herself? Who does she surround herself with? What energy is she in? So focusing on connection to yourself, however that looks. For some people, it's meditation, breath work, journaling. What else? How do we connect to ourselves? Getting out in nature, doing things that we love, having white space to do absolutely nothing. No demand time is crucial. Having white space in your day where you're literally just looking at the back of your eyelids, or maybe your eyes are open, it doesn't matter. I've got no demands on me right now. There's nothing anybody needs. This time is just for me. I'm allowing my mind to wander. I'm seeing what's present in my body. I'm making choices about what to do next. There's so much magic in that time, whether you call it white space, whether you call it no demand time. How often do we wait in line at the supermarket or perhaps at the doctor's office, and we cannot bear to be with ourselves? We have to get our phones out. I'm guilty of it. But we can't just be with ourselves. We can't just let our minds wander. We have to look on our phone, or we have to, distract with something. Or perhaps we get home from work at the end of the day and the TV goes straight on, or the music, or the podcasts. Or perhaps it's when we're in our car. That time wandering, non-demand time is so important. That's when you really connect to yourself. You start listening to yourself. And giving yourself space to reflect along the way as well. How did this thing go? This thing that I was just hoping to achieve, and now I'm here, I achieved it. How did it go? What did I learn along the way? Was this where I wanted to end up? How did I get here? Who supported me to actually get here? Often we can be so fixated on getting to the next thing. Oh yeah, we don't actually stop to celebrate and go, oh my God, I'm here. This is what I wanted. Shit. Whew. How does this feel? Now I'm in this new container. It's bigger. Now I'm holding more. This is what I wanted. Now I'm here. Oh my God. Stop to celebrate and reflect. It's so important. So that brings us to just over our halfway point. So I want to give you an opportunity to ask any questions. And I'd love for you to reflect on a couple of questions. I might go and have a bio break. And if anyone needs to have a bio break, that's the bathroom, by the way. But there's 2 questions. I'm going to put them in the chat. I just want you to reflect on these in your journal. Oops. and then I'm going to open it up for chat and any questions. So what would it look like to fully trust yourself? And what are you afraid to fully step into? And I'll be back in 3 minutes. Whew, it's cold. Oh, yay. All right. Does anyone want to share what came up? What would it look like to fully trust yourself? And what might that mean?
Yeah, I can if you like. So for me, it's proof and evidence.
Mm-hmm.
It's been in a world where it's exampled, where it's modeled.
Mm-hmm.
Regular nervous system practice, self-care mindset, but also energetic work. So installing these new practices into the subconscious. And then cheerleaders, so back to that example, really. Interestingly, still afraid of judgment, failure, and burnout. But just another level, another level of that.
Whose judgment are you most afraid of?
Whose judgment am I now afraid of?
That's a question for everyone as well, by the way, if you do this exercise, like whose judgment am I most afraid of?
Gosh, it's so interesting. It's actually my small self. Yeah, as opposed to other people.
Your small self. Okay.
Yeah.
You're judging you. Okay, well, that's easy to work with.
You
don't have to change anyone. Yeah. And so what do you think that your small self needs in order to feel heard, validated?
Proof, evidence. Yeah, going back just to the and again, I've already got that. It's just leveling it up again. Yeah. So and I haven't come this far to come this far, you know what I mean? So now I've popped, I'm not going to stop. I've taken the oath to growth. It's and I full commitment that I feel it, deal with it and heal it. But interesting, it's still, still lingering. Yeah.
Yeah. And perhaps like when we notice that it's lingering, we don't actually need to change it or need it to not be there anymore. It's just about like,
and I mean, I'm embodying that right now, and there's no stiffness, there's no pain, there's no anxiety, there's nothing. So it's just neutral. It's just interesting. Yeah.
You're noticing the noticing.
Yeah. There it is.
Sometimes we can let that ego or let the small child or whatever it is, let that person know, like, thank you for looking out for me. I've got this.
But I actually celebrate it because like I'm a bridge between two worlds, and I'm more starseed than I am of human. So I'm like, yay, I'm human. So it kind of gives me some commonality, which I welcome.
Puts your feet on the ground.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Love it. Thanks, Jane. Anyone else want to share?
Share. So like I wrote that, or kind of like journaled a bit, that like fully trusting myself would just be like the ability to be 100% present in my body, in my experience, in my day, in my moments, and not have the overthinking, the over planning, the worrying, the I have to do X, Y, Z when I get home. Just having the trust in myself that I can be present in this moment, because I can trust that everything will work out the way it's meant to. Like you say, detaching from that outcome and just knowing that whatever comes up, like I'm present, I'm here, I can listen to how I choose to respond. More breath work, more meditation, more yoga, more noticing the noticing, more sitting with feelings, asking myself, checking in, reflection. What tools do I already have? Just more.
More of the same. And I think we just need to remember that we are women, we're not men. We weren't put on this earth to do and to like grind ourselves into dust. We have so much innate wisdom, and we have so much ability to achieve things through our energetics and through just showing up as ourselves. Like authentic self-leadership. I don't need to do anything extra. I don't need to learn all of the things and all of the strategies and I just need to be more of me. My mentor, I listened to her say on a podcast this morning, she's like, the more me I am, the more money I make. Like, it's fucked, but it's literally the truth. And what if we could just all believe that? I actually don't need to keep pushing shit uphill, and I don't need to keep trying to mold myself to be better, to be more, to be liked. I just actually need to be who I am right now, but more of it. Yeah.
And when I was writing, what am I afraid to fully step into? Like I kind of wrote, I was afraid to step into my true power and be outspoken in who I am because of that fear of rejection. And I actually got to like catch my inner critic and that pesky little voice, because I was like, what am I afraid of being rejected? I'm afraid of like my partner, my really close friends that I like really treasure their friendship, to turn around and be like, this isn't the person I signed up for. And I was actually like, no, that's bullshit. Like the people that are going to be in my life that truly value me and want to hold space with me are going to give me the space to grow. They don't have that box, you know. And I got to like catch that little inner critic coming up, like, no, that's actually not true. So,
and your truth is a filtering system. Like the more you that you are, if people don't like that, great. Like natural selection, they've been filtered out. So yeah, like
as a scientist, I really, really like, I'm going to use that natural selection of friends.
and it's the same with boundaries. Like if you speak your boundaries and people can't handle that, filtering system, sorry. And people don't own rights to you. So they don't own rights to what version of you that they receive that is perhaps more palatable and accessible for them. You can't give them that power. You never did. You didn't sign up for that.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And it's surprising, right? Like we have all of these views of I'm going to be rejected. People aren't going to like it. They're not going to accept it. What about the people who are frickin' going to celebrate you and rise to the occasion? What about the people who you are going to activate something in them that they're just like, fuck yes. I was waiting for someone to step up and lead in this way. And thank God it's happened close to me. Like,
and
what about
I think like being scared of like being rejected by other people, all you're doing is rejecting yourself, because you're like, I'm scared of their rejection, but by not stepping into what you're scared they will reject, you're rejecting it within yourself. And you're like, actually, no, like when you say no to someone else, or when you say yes to someone else, you say no to yourself.
Handy P. Yeah, you got it. Smart 23-year-olds. My biggest regret in life, not being woke when I was 23. Anyone else want to share? Otherwise, we'll move on.
I'll share quickly.
Yeah.
I find it helpful to share because it's like so much of my body says, don't do it, it's scary. So forcing myself. Anyway, I just sort of rambled a bit on my paper, but I feel if I fully trusted myself, I would be able to love more freely. I would feel like a warmer, more open version of myself, which would in turn make me feel more receptive to the things that were going on around me. And I would draw in more of the likeness that I definitely pick up on some of it. And through my journey, I'm noticing a lot more things that are like positive things that are coming my way just from being more authentic with myself.
What if you could decide to be receptive, and then the warmness and the other stuff will come as a natural byproduct of that?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're waiting for like, I want to be this, but this needs to happen first. What if we choose that first and then that happens as a natural byproduct?
Yeah.
Sometimes we like get it around the wrong way.
Yeah, totally. You said that before, and I think I wrote that down in a different way. And I think when I wrote, what am I afraid to step into? Afraid to be vulnerable, afraid of being my true authentic self, for this fear of that we all experience. I don't really know who the fear is of, though. I don't know if it is of the judgment of others or as a judgment of myself, or and afraid to step in, like truly step into my own sovereignty and power for what that may behold. Like you say, scared of the success even. What is that? What does it look like? Don't know what it looks like, scared of it. And then I wrote why. I was like, why am I afraid to step into this? I was like, because I'm afraid to be seen, afraid of failure, trying yet another business, afraid of getting hurt in some way, shape or form.
Yeah. So letting your past dictate today and your future, which is, you know, like we think that it's smart, but it's actually not. It's limiting. So every single day is a clean slate. What am I choosing today? How am I showing up for myself today? Not letting yesterday dictate what happens today. Like, yes, extracting the lessons from what has happened, but it's not who you are. It's just what you've done in the past, what you've chosen in the past, because you thought it was the best thing at the time. Yeah, beautiful. All right, thank you, ladies. Shoot, we've got 35 minutes and I've got so much to get through, so I'm going to race through, and then our Q&A might go overtime, so if you can stay over, great, but I want to respect your time, so if you have a hard stop at 2, do drop off, and you'll get the replay of all of the questions anyway. Okay, so that first half was the what is self-leadership, why is it important, like all of the, like, what is it about? And I feel like we've got a really good idea now of what it's about, why it's important, why we should really step into this. And so now it's the how. So how do we do it? I have some ideas. These are in no particular order of importance, but they are all important. And this one is one of my favorites. And this one is one that I'm only just anchoring into, which is to celebrate everything. Celebrate everything. Do not wait for a reason or a milestone or some arbitrary number to celebrate. Just celebrate now. Celebrate yourself. Like, celebrate yourself for even the small things of like showing up and doing the thing, or enrolling in the program, enrolling in the course, signing up to the class, signing up to the something, whatever. You went on your first date in a year, celebrate it. You got a new client, stop and celebrate it rather than waiting to have 10 clients or having a 10K month. Those things are so arbitrary. Can you just be in the energy of celebration right now without having all of this evidence to back that up of like, okay, now you can celebrate. Now you can feel worthy. You've made it. Perhaps you got up early and went to a gym class, like, celebrate it. You set a boundary that felt really hard, celebrate it. Rather than focusing on, I've still got so far to go, celebrate how far you've come. Change the context through which you view your journey. And every single woman in Selfish, they always do this. And I pick it up every single time. They're like, yeah, I'm really proud. I feel like I've grown so much and I've still got so far to go. I've still got so many things to change. And I'm like, no. Stop, like, cut that sentence in half. Can we just celebrate? I don't need to hear what is left to do, because that's your mind already going, I don't fully deserve to celebrate this. I can only fully celebrate this when I've actually crossed the mark. No. If we are in that energy, in that frequency of celebration for the small things, just celebrating us, just celebrating for no reason, we take that into everything we're doing, and then the things that we're doing change. They become more significant. They become more aligned. They become more important. They become more enjoyable. Otherwise, we're just flying blind, doing the tasks, going through the thing. We're becoming resentful because we do. There's no actual stop and celebrate along the way. So that's a really important one. So rather than being stuck in, I'm not there yet, I don't know enough yet, I haven't started the business yet, can you celebrate where you are, knowing that where you're going is inevitable? It just is. Like, this thing that you want, this thing that you desire, it's coming, it's inevitable, it is happening. That's just no question. So can you, and this is your homework, can you start thinking right now about how you're going to celebrate the thing that you're moving towards, this thing, something that you want? How are you going to celebrate it? Are you going to take yourself out for a lunch? Are you going to have a beautiful bubble bath? Will you buy yourself flowers? Will you buy balloons? Will you post on social media about something? Get excited about the celebration before you have the reason to celebrate, before you have the reason for the milestone. Like, we're celebrating the fact that we're about to celebrate. Can you see what's kind of happening here? We're going meta. And so everything just becomes joyous. Everything becomes exciting. We're just in that energy, in that frequency of like, I'm so looking forward to what's next. I'm so looking forward to having a reason to celebrate for no reason at all. Maybe celebration is like sitting in ceremony with yourself with a beautiful cup of tea and just like writing in your journal, reflecting on some things, and then putting on a movie. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be shared with anybody else. It's just you connecting to you, being in that frequency. Because otherwise you're in the frequency of, okay, what next? What do I have to do next? What do I still need to achieve in order to feel proud of myself? Which brings me to my next point, which is continuously reflect and make micro adjustments. Micro adjustments. We think, oh my God, I've got so much to work on. There's so much I need to change. There's so much I still need to do in order to be a person who X, Y, and Z. What if it was actually just about tiny daily micro adjustments in our relationships, in our work, in our health, with our money, with the way that we speak to ourselves, with everything? So reflect on, are there boundaries to clean up in my life right now that would be really supportive? Are you holding other people's projections about how your life should be and what you should be doing? Are you willing to perhaps break up with those projections? Realize that that's not your energy, disconnect from it. Are you afraid of success? We've touched on that a bit already, but is that a micro adjustment you need to make of recalibrating your nervous system to actually, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be safe if I have this thing that I want. Can you recalibrate your nervous system and retrain yourself to hold more? Because that's an important part of it as well, is as we are growing, as we are evolving, as we are stepping more into our leadership, more holding more, we need to make sure our nervous system, our container, is calibrated to hold that. Otherwise we get it all and then we're like, fuck, what do I do with this? This is too heavy. Lose it. Are you giving your energy to something that is no longer aligned? So that might be a micro adjustment. Scanning your life, looking for the sticky points, looking for the conflicts, looking for the little energy leaks somewhere and going, oh, yeah, that one can be unplugged. That one's no longer aligned. I've outgrown that one, that relationship, that behavior, that person, whatever. So how can you make micro adjustments along your journey to recalibrate to your next level? Perhaps you have a daily check-in practice, like a daily reflection where you spend 10 or 15 minutes at the end of each day and just reflect on what felt really good today. What felt really draining today? What did I learn about myself today? What are some little micro adjustments I can make? Because if we don't do this, if we're not in the energy of making micro adjustments, we get to the end of a year and we go, oh God, I've got to change my entire life. I'll start January 1. Okay, my New Year's resolutions for this year, I need to lose 20 kilos. I need to start a business. I need to save 100 grand. I need to, it's like, if you could have maybe just made micro adjustments along the way and turned the dial up a little bit on certain areas of your life, like, oh, time to lean in a little bit further there. Imagine the progress you could have made throughout a year rather than trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater at the end of the year, starting again. This is important because it's the micro adjustments that add up to the biggest things. Kind of like compound interest, right? Like you put away the money and it starts to grow and you're not even noticing it, and all of a sudden your entire world has changed. So sit down for 15 minutes every day, consider the micro adjustments you could make to your relationships, your health, your job, with your partner. Imagine what that will add up to over the long term. And that's a practice of training and building that self-awareness of like, I'm just going to look at my life 15 minutes a day. I'm just going to adjust the knobs in certain areas. And how quickly can you act when you notice something is off or isn't working? How long do we just sit in our shit, sit in our problems, sit in our complaints, sit in this isn't working, sit in I wish this would be different, sit in like everybody else has it so much easier than I do, rather than acting, rather than going, oh, this needs cleaning up. How can I clean this up? Who do I need to ask for support from? What type of person do I need to become in order to make this easier for myself? So how quickly can you act when you notice that something is off or isn't working or out of alignment? How often do we know what the problem is, or we know what needs to change, but we're pretending not to see it? Oh, no, don't want to look at that. Oh. I do not want to look at that area of my life. We're in resistance to what it means and what will be required of us to effect change. It is so easy to complain about what's not working. It's much harder to push ourselves past our comfort zones and do the thing that might feel scary, like ending the relationship. Oh, but then I'll be single. You'll be single and happy because this relationship isn't working. You'll have a whole bed to yourself, which is pretty great. If your job sucks, and again, this is about discernment, right? This is about discernment because we love to complain. At least I do. I've learned to complain. It's so much easier to sit in the complaints and hope that the complaints will make that thing go away, or to receive the validation that you need in order to feel full again, so you can stop complaining for half a day and then maybe start it up again tomorrow. If your job sucks, great. Make peace with it or leave. Like, those are your two decisions. Don't complain for 6 months to your friends about the job. It's not their job to listen to you complain about your job. Make peace with it, change your perspective, or leave. Your boyfriend is terrible at communicating, great. Book couples counselling or leave. Those are your options. We'd rather sit in our self-pity and our uncertainty and tell the story of, I don't know what to do with this, than call upon our radical discernment to decide, this is what needs to happen. This is what I'm choosing. This is misaligned. I'm micro-adjusting. Here's the decision I'm making. We don't trust ourselves enough to do what's right for our hearts. And so we just sit in the like, I can't see it. If I can't see it, I don't need to deal with it. Yet it's seeping into other areas of our life and infecting everything. And so having a regular cleanup process of like, what can I clean up? What can I fix? What can I recalibrate? What can I adjust? How can I create more of this stuff that's going really well? And how can I clean up the stuff that's not? That's all it is. That's all our roles are. We don't need to be attached to the stories. So the next part is stop focusing on what's not working and focus on what's working and what you want to be even better. Our brains have a negativity bias, and so it's very easy for us to scan for what's not working, right? Because we need to scan for danger in order to survive. It's very easy for us to sit here and go, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working. But if I was to ask you what's working really well, you might have a hard time coming up with some stuff because you're not actively looking for it. For those of us who are familiar with the coaching and personal development space, it's easy to think in the context of what is going wrong, what needs fixing. And for those of you who are in this work and you've been in this work for a long time, Hannah, you're doing about 600 programs at the moment. Be careful not to get in the energy of like, oh, what else do I need to fix? Like, what else is broken? Like, yes, do it from an empowering place of like, what micro adjustments can I make? But not what else? Oh God, that's my inner child coming up. Oh God, that's my shadow. Oh God. No, that's not the vibe. Blow your own face off with how good things get to be when you change your frame, when you change your context of like, I'm just going to sit down today and just look at all the things in my life that are going so well. And I'm just going to sit in that and I'm just going to receive it and I'm going to feel it, knowing that that's going to build more of it. And because I like being in that frequency, I deserve to be in that frequency. Next one. And yeah, that's what I said on Instagram today is like often people will wait for something to be wrong in order to fix it, rather than these things in my life are really great. I want to make more of it. I want to build upon this. So we've got to stop putting out fires and we've got to start building our own theme park. Did that work? Yeah. Did that work? I think so. Make declarations to yourself about what is going to happen from here on out. Declarations are powerful. We've broken up with affirmations. They are just affirmations, scratch the surface. But declarations are a commitment. It's a decision. So that thing that sucked and it hurt and it didn't go the way I wanted it to, that thing sucked and it hurt and it didn't go the way I wanted it to, but here's what I'm choosing to do about it. So not sitting in the seat of victimhood and not complaining and not acting confused, but that sucked, that hurt, I felt it, I'm dealing with it, and here's what I'm choosing to do about it. Here's how I'm choosing to heal. Here's what I've learned from it. I declare that I am no longer available for codependent or boundaryless relationships. I declare that I am no longer willing to go to a job that I hate. I'm choosing differently for myself. I declare that I am no longer a space for my friends to dump their problems onto me without asking my permission first. I declare that I'm raising my prices in my business, no matter what. I declare that I am only available for friendships that feel enriching. I declare that I am worthy of my own celebration every single day. What are you declaring? Next one, which we've talked about, is detach from the outcome. So really important. There's so much magic in the world when we just detach from what we expect to happen, because our expectations can often be really low. And then if we set that bar really low, then we don't actually give ourselves the opportunity to have a really outstanding result. So are you willing to chase something even though you don't know what it's going to feel like when it happens? Are you willing to chase something even though you don't know what it is going to feel like when it happens? Because it's very hard to want a dream or want something in your life if you don't actually have proof of how that's going to feel in your system, or whether that's actually going to make you happy, or whether that's actually going to live up to your expectations, or whether that's going to solve your problems. You don't know. Are you willing to chase it anyway, just because you know, just because you have a desire, just because you feel worthy of having that thing? Detaching from the outcome doesn't mean being complacent. There's some kind of people on the more spiritual way down that end of the spectrum. It's like, I'm just going to sit back and trust that what's for me won't pass me by. I love that quote, but it's not just about that. Sign up to the programs, learn the things, do the courses, and also take the action. Like, action is so important. Aligned, consistent action towards the things that you want to call in or the things that you want to change. They're not going to happen just through thought alone, just through vibration alone, just through frequency alone, just through setting the intention. We need to take action behind that. And often that's the action that's scary, because we tell ourselves the story of, oh, but I don't know what action to take. What is the next best step? And we don't need to see the whole staircase. We just need to see the next step. That's Martin Luther King. And sometimes our head is scrambled because we are looking for all of the actions and we are looking for the entire process, but we just need to go narrow. What's the next best action here? If I want to achieve this in 6 months or 12 months or whatever time, because I'm unattached to the outcome, what do I need to do today? If I want to call in a loving relationship, what do I need to do today? I could probably download a dating app. I could maybe invite my friends to go out to a restaurant or a bar. I could maybe start working on a list of like what I want in a relationship so that I can be really clear when I start meeting people. So think about the goal, or think about the thing, or think about something that you're wanting to call in, and you don't need to know. You don't need to know all of the things to get started today. What action do I need to take, and who do I need to become? What type of person takes that action? So sign up to the programs and take the action. The worst thing that someone can do is just sign up to a coaching program and then not actually implement anything that they're learning, not actually do the exercises, not do the things that will actually change your world. Do things from an empowering energy, not lack. So if you're downloading the dating app because you feel miserable and you feel like a loser because nobody likes you and nobody's asking you out, that's not the right energy. That's not the vibe. Do it because you're so excited to meet someone, because you're so excited to share your energy with someone. So do things from an empowering energy, not from an energy of lack. Always check in with that intention. What's my intention behind this? Don't chase more money because you think that that's what you should want. Chase it because it will allow you to have more vacations and donate more to charity and invest in self-care and send your kids to a good school. The intention behind everything matters, because that's your like what's the thing on a boat, rudder? I don't know. That's your like rudder that's like directing you in the direction. And stop trying to prove to your parents or your high school friends that you're doing okay. Okay? I think there's a few of us out there that are still trying to prove to people that we are worthy, that we're enough, that we're okay, that we're doing things, that we're valuable. Break up from that. Do it for you. The things that you're doing, the dreams that you're chasing, the goals that you're going after, the person that you're becoming, do it for you. Yes, do it for your kids. Yes, do it for your partner, but do it for you first. It has to be. Next thing is not to bypass the lessons along the way. This is so important. Don't bypass the lessons. Don't be speeding so fast through your journey. Don't be trying to grow so fast and get to the next thing that you're learning and get to the next milestone without actually stopping to go, oh, that thing actually didn't go so well. Let's be so excited to learn our lessons. Like, oh, I won't go out with that type of person again, or I won't, not hold my boundaries solid again. I really learned a lesson there, and it was painful, but I was listening and I learnt it and I've got it and I'm thankful. So let's be excited to learn our lessons, to find solutions and learn new things and rise above our current circumstances. That is self-leadership, to be solutions focused. Not sitting in the pain and sitting in the blame and sitting in whose fault it was that this thing went this way and what am I doing about this? How have I grown as a person through this? What am I putting in place so I don't allow this to happen to myself again? How can I soothe myself through this? Because I was 50% responsible for creating this. Can you stay plugged in and committed to yourself even when you're going through it? Even when you're in the shit, even when you feel low and at the bottom and like you're not doing enough and like nothing's changing and nothing's shifting and blah, 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 blah. Can you stay plugged in and committed to yourself even when you're in it, when you're deep in the trenches? Just coming back and asking yourself that question, what is my next best action? What do I need right now? And we don't need anything outside of us. It's not something outside of us that can bring us out of that. It's our own attention, our own self-soothing, our own compassion, our own understanding. I've got you. I've got you back. Leading yourself. And then finally, find mentors and leaders to support you to rise. We do not have to do this alone. There are so many women, myself included, who have the lone wolf archetype. I don't need anyone. I don't trust anyone. I can do this on my own. I've got this far on my own. And it's something I really started to shift my mindset around, and it's paying off. You are allowed to receive support. You're allowed to ask for support just because you might have been burned by someone in the past, whether that was a coach or a friend or a family member or whatever. Trust, keep trusting. Because from that experience, you took the lesson. You've now become more discerning. You now trust yourself, and you'll choose differently next time for that person that you choose to mentor or guide you. And embodying the archetype. So embodying the archetype, I talked about this earlier, but of the person who makes the choices that you want to make. Who do I need to call upon? Like, who is this woman? How does she show up? How does she hold herself? What does she look like? How does she talk? How can I just like lease a little bit of her frequency today to feel more fully like in my body, to feel more fully held and supported and knowing what I'm doing? Because we're going to have days where we wobble and when we think that we don't know enough and we're not doing enough and we're not there yet and we're not leading ourselves and okay, well, what would I do if I did know? What would I do if I did trust myself? If I did feel sure and certain and confident, what would be different? Whose energy can I call upon? So that's it. That is everything that I wanted to share on self-leadership. We have around 10 minutes left for questions. So I would love to hear any of your questions. And I've got a little bit of homework, but yeah, I'll share that after the questions. Hannah, do you want to ask yours if any of them didn't get answered? I've got them here if you need them.
Is that what I emailed through this morning?
Yeah, so learning to move through procrastination and resistance. I'm going to ask you the questions and see if you have the answer by now. How do I move through procrastination and resistance with my goals?
Oh, I don't have the answer to that, but I am slowly working on trying different things.
I think you do have the answer. I think you're telling yourself a story of I don't know.
I like the idea of like embodying the kind of person or the types of qualities that could basically let me get shit done. Like the no bullshit attitude, the I'm not going to sit here and pity myself. I'm not going to make excuses because it's hard. Oh, I do know the answers. Not going to lean into that, you know, sit back, it'll happen when it happens energy that sometimes can be around, like in the workplace and whatnot. And probably also just like sitting there and like the discernment of what does that actually feel like in my body when I procrastinate, and does that align with what I know I am capable of?
Yeah.
You're good at this.
Well, like notice the noticing. Like, do I like looking at myself procrastinating, or does that actually feel really disempowering? I've been doing that this week because there's certain things in my day where I'm just like, oh, fuck, I don't want to do this thing. Like, it's annoying. Love my business, but don't want to do this thing. And now I'm just not even giving myself the opportunity to wallow in my own self-pity. I'm just like, it gets done. Like, this thing needs to get done. There's no point complaining. That energy isn't serving me. I'm just doing it. And Mel Robbins, who's the like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 lady, what's her book? Can't remember. But she gives herself, she counts down from 5 to 1, says blast off, and that's the time she gives herself to do the thing. Whether it's getting out of bed in the morning or making the scary phone call or like doing the task, she's just like, oh, fuck, okay, procrastinating, feeling resistance, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Does it. It's just that kind of surge of energy in our body. And the more that we do that and practice that and achieve it, and then we look at ourselves, we observe ourselves and go, oh my God, I just did it. And I didn't complain and it felt good. And holy shit. And then we do more of that because it felt good. That energy is palpable when we actually just don't, we don't hold space anymore for our complaints. We don't hold space anymore for our procrastination. This is not who I'm being. This is not the energy that I am available for. And maybe another part to that is checking in with like, am I procrastinating and in resistance because I'm not aligned to this goal anymore? That might just be another thing to check in with, of like, maybe I haven't like really anchored this into my bones of like, this is what this means for me. This is what I'm working towards. So you might need to reconnect to the goal. Next one, to learn practices to embody my true self.
Is that like breath work and future visioning and like journaling about values? And
so those are embodiment practices. They allow you to take what you're learning from your head and really like bring them down into your body so things change on a cellular level. In terms of like embodying your true self, yes, those can, I guess it's about expanding your awareness as to like, who is my true self? Who am I being when I'm my true self? How will I know when I'm being my true self? How will I know when I'm not being my true self? And just having that awareness, and the more that you practice that, that becomes embodied. Yeah, that's all I got. And then to plug things that drain my energy.
I guess that comes back to that awareness, like that kind of daily check-in of what made me feel drained. What did I not align with today? What did I what could I not give a shit about today?
Yeah. 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 And like, why does this drain me? What does this remind me of? Am I placing too many expectations on myself? Am I draining myself? Have I not taken time to actually refuel my reserves? Am I drained because I actually didn't have anything to start with? One thing that's really a really good exercise is to write a list of energy drainers and write a list of energy givers. So drainers, scrolling social media, staying up too late, sugar, caffeine sometimes, high intensity exercise on my period, people who don't respect my boundaries. Like, you can probably have a pretty big list of your energy drainers, and then your energy givers. Getting 8 hours of sleep, God, why isn't my list long? Getting out in nature,
Water swimming, yeah.
water swimming,
Yeah.
people who make me laugh, my dog, like, and having those lists somewhere. It sounds really simple, but like on the back of your door or in your diary or on your notes app or something, so that when you check in with yourself and you're like, holy fuck, I'm feeling so drained, you go to that list and you're like, yeah, I really haven't been doing any of those energy givers. No wonder. Yeah. And then to further understand how to free myself from external validation. This is a big one. How do you free yourself from external validation?
Providing internal validation. Like celebrating myself, celebrating the little moments.
Yeah.
Having little like rituals that like just bring me joy, like knowing that like, okay, it's okay, because like, you know, I can go home, I can light my candles, I can sit with my crystals, I can breathe it in. Like re-parenting myself, where I'm like, yeah, that was really awesome. Like, that's so amazing. You stood up, you gave that presentation and you were nervous, but you spoke with conviction, and like, look at the response you gave. People were really excited. They like, they were there, they were questioning you, they were intrigued by what you had to say, and like their own self-talk.
Yeah. Yeah. And then sometimes it's about asking ourselves the question of like, what am I actually seeking here? Because sometimes it's like, oh, actually, I just want physical touch. I want someone to give me a hug. I might go and get a massage. Or I'm a projector in human design. I don't know if there's any other projectors here, but we are thirst traps for validation. And so some of it is just recognizing, like, I'm just someone who likes to be validated. I like people to recognize my brilliance, and I like people to tell me that I did a good job at something. And so I kind of want to surround myself with people who can do that. And it's also my responsibility to request that. So perhaps I request feedback from people. Hey, how did you like that thing? Or from your partner. I would actually really love it, like particularly before my period when I'm feeling a little bit more self-doubty. I would love for you to give me more like words of affirmation. That's my love language. You know, we need that. Self-leadership is taking responsibility for, this is me, these are my needs, I'm going to ask for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
That was Hannah's list of questions. Does anyone have any others? Go, Jackie.
First of all, I just want to acknowledge you, Hannah, and what a phenomenal lighthouse you are. And I'm so excited for you. So I really just wanted to honor that. And I really wanted to just give an example of what you just said, Anna, about your partner in the period. So I've got a husband, 2 daughters, and just through leadership, he now asks us in that premenstrual phase, what can I do
Love it.
to help you this week? And you know, he wins because when we're in our good week, we say the same to him. So I just really wanted to give an example that absolutely fucking works. Just something that came up for me, and I'm just curious to you speaking to it, and if you've got nothing, that's totally cool too. But just kind of speaking to the difference of embodying, you know, an archetype compared to what we're hearing in society of faking it till you make it.
Yeah. I love that. Because there's fake it till you make it, and some people say, no, you make it till you make it. And I'm somewhere in between. I think she's so cute. I think you can't see her because it's all fuzzed out. I think it's both. And ultimately, it's what feels good in your body and what is working. So if the archetype thing isn't landing in your cells and it doesn't feel great and you don't need it, great, drop it. But if you need that extra bit of like, oh, okay, I'm like Sasha Fierce today or whatever to like hold my shoulders back and like walk into the boardroom and like present this thing, great, do it. It's a tool. It's another tool that you can draw upon. But if it's not working for you, don't use it. And so I like that because it's authentic. You're not stealing her social security number and using her credit cards. You're literally just leasing her frequency. I don't think that you should fake it in terms of like telling mistruths about yourself in order to get ahead, right? Because the intention behind that is not pure. I think leasing the frequency from someone, I mean, we do it all the time anyway. We do it from our mentors that we look up to and we learn from. We start kind of perhaps holding ourselves in that same way or sharing some of the same truths that that person shared. I think it's a similar thing of that, but it's got to be true to you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Jen, what else have we got? Yes, Atomic Habits is a great book, Hannah. I just finished it. It's great, great, great. I didn't want to like it. I was like, no, I don't need Atomic Habits, whatever. It was great. It was great. You can put questions in the chat box if you want to. We're about 1 minute off to, oh, it just ticked over to 2 o'clock. So we are at time, but I'm so happy to ask any other questions or just hear anything that like landed for you today. Whether I was speaking the right language, given that I'm like 2 days off bleeding and it could have landed anywhere.
Can I say, do you mind if I say something?
No.
So I've just been jotting a whole bunch of stuff down during this session and been like this slow sort of inspiring giddy-ish feeling has been building over the time by thinking of all the amazing things that could happen in my realm. Naturally, just through anything like this, I get this sort of inspiration. But what's really interesting is, so growing up as a teenager, young person, I used to get drunk a lot, as most young Kiwi people did in my generation. And since having my child, and was part of a pretty party scene, and once having my child, I sort of never really got back into alcohol, and it's just sort of didn't have time for it. And a couple of months ago, I was like, I'm just gonna just stop. Like I don't get drunk, but I have like one beer here or there, and I enjoy the taste. But I'm gonna really try to just not have it at all, and prove to myself that I don't need it. And how do I manage that, and how do I still socially interact when it's something this learnt behavior that I have? Anyway, so what sort of came up for me is this inspiration. I'm like, I want to get loose and flowy and creative, and I want to get in the space, and it makes me feel like I want to get drunk to do that, which is so weird. It's like this, it's pulling me right back. And so now I'm sitting here going, how do I get that feeling? How do I get that looseness and that flowy creativeness that is in me? It's like the child within me, right? It's I see it in my child. How do I be that without drugs or alcohol or like stimulants, right?
Yeah.
In general. And it's freaking me out. Like, I want to go get loose, but I'm like, not that sense. I just want to, I want to open it all up, but I just don't know how.
Do you want to hear my take on that?
I would love to, of course.
I'm very much.
I feel hot even talking about that. Like I feel hot. I need to take my jumper off.
I love it. I love it. It's energy just like coming through. And I very much resonate. I've never been a drinker. I just don't enjoy it and blah, 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 blah. And there's always been a part of me that's just like, I wish I could just be fun and like free like everybody else. And we create anchors, right? If you've done any NLP, you'll know that, oh, no, you're not NLP. Anyway, you'll know that we create anchors through things. And so we create this anchor or association or muscle memory that alcohol equals loose and fun and no inhibitions and flowy. When in actual fact, that's not entirely true. Alcohol removes our inhibitions so that we can be more of just that stuff that's inside of us. But you've created that association, so you think now that alcohol equals that. We think that it's about adding something to take us back to that feeling. I need alcohol, or I need something added to take me back to that feeling, when often it's actually we need to take something away. So what needs to be lifted in order for me to feel that sense of just being unencumbered and free, and every single person is going to have a different way of accessing that. For some people it's ecstatic dance, or it's breath work, or it's boxing, or it's cold ocean swimming, or
I roller skate, 48-year-old roller skater.
You're the best, Jackie.
Do you know what? Do what you did when you were a kid. Do what you love when you're a kid.
Yeah. And it's removing the things that are perhaps weighing you down, which for me, it's I want to be liked. I want other people to like me, and I'm afraid to do anything where I'm not liked. And so sometimes I like contract and I constrict myself, and I don't want to be joyous because, I don't know, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So maybe some things to sit with.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
sorry.
The other thing is that all women want that. All women want to be flowy and free.
And it's a part of who we are, right?
Yeah. So you will find your tribe, I promise.
Breath work.
Yeah.
I'm biased, but yeah.
One of the ways, because I felt that I was afraid to be judged by others and afraid of how people would perceive me. And I love dancing. And so I'd always be nervous that, like, without alcohol, I'm clunky, I'm awkward, like I can't have fun, I'm aware of everyone else. And so I would go to my room, like I've been doing this recently, and I will just put my earphones in, put on a crazy song, and just do whatever feels crazy and out there and natural, and not look at myself in the mirror. Because as soon as I looked at myself in the mirror, I tried to like bring that back to like, oh no, that doesn't look cool, and just really felt how it felt to just like be and like do weird crazy movements, and how that felt freeing in my body. No one needs to know that that's what's going on upstairs. And that has helped me be like, this feels good to feel free. So now I can walk out of this room with that sense of freedom that no one else knows I've fostered. Like it's in me. It's always fun to have a dance too. No one needs to know. No one needs to see those moves that like you're definitely not bringing out on a birthday party or something.
Yeah, I can definitely do that sort of dancing with my 2-year-old. He loves it.
Yeah. But maybe doing it just for you as well, and just like letting yourself like really go ham.
Totally. I've always wanted to go to one of those morning raves.
Oh yeah.
I go to morning people.
I reckon that would be a very good way to break the shell.
Yeah.
Okay, well you can go with Jackie.
I've been going for 6 years. Yeah.
God, amazing.
Yeah.
Or OK Now Ladies in Auckland is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that looks cool. Yeah.
Are you in Auckland, Maddie? I can't remember.
Yeah. I'm in Riverhead.
Look up OK Now Ladies on Instagram. It's every Tuesday night. It's so much fun.
They're full this actually they're just closed for winter. Yeah, but look them up. But pleasure practices.
And I think it's just changing, you know, like so many of my friends were people that you hung out doing that stuff with. So it's finding other people, or maybe your friends are evolving too, and you actually do different practices that bring you that same joy that's just a totally different thing.
Yeah.
And I'm in that middle phase. And yeah, I suppose since becoming a single mum, it's been quite an isolating space. So like now I'm just trying to figure out how to slot back in and do these things that invigorate me.
I promise you will evolve exponentially with pleasure practices. Yeah.
Mm.
Such a up leveler.
Well, thank you, ladies. Roxy, if you've got any questions, feel free to ask away. Otherwise, I'll send you off into your Saturday with maybe a little bit of sunshine. But thank you so much for this, and I'd love to hear how it lands over the next kind of week. So feel free to reach out and let me know. And most of you probably know that Selfish is enrolling. Well, actually, you do know Selfish is enrolling. So we're starting on the 18th of July. So invitation is there for anyone who wants to take that journey for 7 weeks. And yeah, I think the next masterclass I'm going to run, potentially next weekend, maybe the weekend after, is going to be on the mother-daughter relationship. So stay tuned for that. And thank you so much for joining me, and ladies who watch the replay as well, enjoy, and yeah, just keep in touch.
And just giving you some validation, Anna. Well done. Keep it up. Stay in the ring. Stay in the arena.
Yeah. Always.
I was thinking the same thing, Jackie. Like, you're amazing, Anna. Like, don't doubt yourself, because we've come here because we believed in you. So
I love it. Yep, no one could have bought this and I would have still been okay. No. But that's the energy, right? Like, that's the goal. That's what we get to tap into, of like, yeah, maybe if no one bought this, I actually would have been okay. I would have been okay. It was just data. It was information. It's not about me. So that's what we get to practice and tap into. So yeah, please keep in touch. Please let me know how you're implementing this in your life. And let's all meet up for a roller derby, ecstatic dance, trampoline bouncing event soon.
Sacred sexuality. That's my latest thing.
You're doing all of the things, Jackie. I love it.
Oh yeah, I'm going big or home. See you guys. See you later.
Look after yourselves.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.